As a responsible person with growing concerns for your privacy and personal liberty, you want to know where we're headed and what you can do about it. We ask the experts what you need to do to take prudent and responsible action to safeguard your family's wealth and well-being, and what basic first steps will help you to be aware and prepared. ReluctantPreppers.com.
Welcome back, Reluctant Preppers. We have a distinguished returning guest tonight, Bill Murphy, co-founder of GATA.org, a vigilante for truth and for fairness, open markets, transparency in the precious metals markets for decades, is back here with us again on Reluctant Preppers. Bill, thanks for joining us again.
Great to be here, Dunnigan. Thanks for having me.
It's been some time since we had you on, and we wanted to follow up with you on a couple of main events that are happening this fall. The first, if we can look back just a few weeks, we had a prediction from notable Jim Rickards, and was mentioned by several other analysts heading into the end of September, specifically September 30th, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, when the Chinese Yuan was added to the SDR basket of currencies, and there was a significant concern and prediction that this would be a tipping point for global confidence in the U.S. dollar, and that people would come to see the SDR being a more diversified or hedged set of currencies as more desirable, more stable than the U.S. dollar, and it could have been a tipping or a breaking point for U.S. dollar dominance as the reserve currency globally. What have you seen actually playing out with that event, and specifically, how did it, if at all, affect the price and the action of the gold market, and what does that leave you with as a takeaway?
Well, it was one of the biggest dud calls of all time. Jim, was a very smart guy who went all out to make it a big deal that it's going to be very bullish for gold, et cetera, the stuff you mentioned. And instead of gold rising, it quickly collapsed, $60 or $70, and a lot of people got hurt. We all make mistakes in making calls, but if you're going to make a big deal of something like that, and not only does it not work, it boomerangs totally. You owe an explanation to all the people that believed in what you had to say, and haven't heard a thing from Jim, and I think that's unfortunate. And the other thing I'd like to mention there is that the gold cartel, which is the bullion banks, the U.S. government, some other governments, what GATA calls them, that are manipulating the gold price, they know this kind of thing is out there, and they have all kinds of time to prepare, and they probably may focused on that time to go into action, in addition to China being closed the next week and so on. They just waited for a time like this to make a call like that look bad. And they've done it so many times before, and it's happened again. These are, the richest, most powerful people in the world that are as sophisticated as you can get. And this was probably just a rinky-dink easy operation for them.
When you see the gold action, we were a little over a month and a half ago, talking about how it was finally breaking through resistance levels and puncturing through 18.5, 19.5, 20. And since then, it's been consolidating back in the 18s and down to the 17s. Do you see, beyond just that price action, do you see any change in the types of attacks, the types of volume, the types of timing, the types of things that seem to be being used to result in that price action? Do you see any behavior in the internals of the market from the supply, demand, and other action side?
You mean silver?
Silver, excuse me.
All right, yeah, no, it was my opinion, many months ago, the way silver traded all year when I was back at 1358 in that ridiculous silver fix issue, when it started to go up, that was trading totally differently than we've seen it for years. And it was my opinion that I thought it was in play. The open interest began to take off. It went to the old all-time highs were around 192,000, and it went up to 225,000. The price was on the move. You took out key support at 1850. It was a classic bull market move, and it needed to get through 21 to complete that. Of course, it didn't. But ever since then, it's gone back to just the way it traded in 2015. And quite frankly, it's a bit stunning. The open interest has collapsed. They've turned the speculators out. What are these big guys that are still in there going after it remains to be seen. But right now, it's in severe doubt. Very disappointing. J.P. Morgan has done it again. And they've turned all the speculators in silver and gold out, and they've cleaned up on the short side like they usually do from a trading position. So we'll see. It was, we can get into this, but my opinion was months ago, and it's playing out, that nothing would happen in our markets as we go into the election, and they would make sure that the Dow stayed above 18,000. And right now, it's playing out like on script.
Yeah, if we could turn our attention into the fall election, we're only 3 weeks away from the presidential elections in the U.S. And what do you think is the most likely scenario that will be managed for both stocks and gold and silver heading into the election? And what do you see after that, depending on the outcome of the election, any different path A versus path B, depending on who is elected president?
Well, I've already mentioned what many of us thought would happen coming into the election, and so far that's the way it is. Afterwards, so far, Republican, Democrat, it really doesn't matter, who becomes elected, whether it's a Bill Clinton, President Bush. They all eventually go the mainstream establishment way, and that's what made Trump different. But who knows if he would be any different? Bill Clinton said, "I didn't realize I wouldn't be in charge when I became president." That's a quote from President Clinton. And that's what's so difficult, to take on these moneyed interests. They just go on and on behind the scenes and do what they intend to do. And what I'm hoping at some point, that the manipulators, as we call them, this gold cartel, goes through the physical supply in gold and silver that they needed to keep the market down, and that's going to be a change of ball game, but that remains to be seen.
What do you see as far as some of these globalist pressures? Is there no end in sight? What do you see the scenario playing out? What's the end game of this? Is it, in your view, J.P. Morgan's in their interest to just keep holding down gold and silver arbitrarily long, or is there a time when it becomes in their interest to let it go?
Well, I think they're only going to let it go, as I mentioned, when they run out of physical ability to keep the price down here. They want to keep gold off the radar screen. That's why silver is thrown in there. So, this has been going on from Gada's standpoint for 18 years, and they'll only change when they have to. I mean, gold and silver are rinky-dink markets compared to the stock market and real estate markets and other business deals and everything else what the system is all about. And gold's like the barometer of U.S. financial market health. Down is good and up is bad. So they always want it down, and will go on until they blow up, in my opinion. And I think the next time we get a move in silver, it won't be a managed retreat, but it'll be very explosive, because they're going to hit some issues when it comes to physical supply, enough to keep the price down.
Now, you mentioned about gold and silver being tiny markets compared to the stock and bond markets, and we've had numerous guests on here saying that in the face of undisputed record demand for precious metals over the last several years, the prices have still been able to be managed low. So there's more to it than just the physical demand. We had a guest on last week that talked to us about how gold and the price of gold is also a barometer of political stability and political unrest. So could you address that factor that also drives why the price of gold is managed in addition to the physical demand?
One thing that we've underestimated is where they've come up with all this physical supply of both gold and silver. My friend Frank Venerosa at a conference that Gada had in 2001 in Durban, South Africa, he felt that the maximum would be 10 years, and that this gold cartel would run out of enough physical gold to feed the marketplace. And somehow they prepared for 2011, their run up, and were able to muster ahead of that time enough physical gold between then and now, and silver, to keep the price under such pressure. And we don't quite know where it's all come from. Gold's easier because they can always get to certain central bank supply. Physical silver is a whole different issue. Smartest guys I know when it comes to this, like Eric Spot, can't figure it out. So they've been able, and I would think they planned it well in advance, to have a sustained attack all this period of time. And it's taken gold off the radar screen, just as money printing, quantitative easing, global debt, U.S. debt has gone off the charts. And again, it goes back to gold's the barometer of U.S. financial market health. So they've got it down here and say, well, nothing's so terrible because just look at the gold price. If it was screaming higher, that would indicate something is wrong. So they've just gone after it time and time again, and especially with the election coming up with the mainstream, both Democrat and Republican, wanting Hillary Clinton to be president because she's the epitome of all time of the establishment. They're going all out to make sure gold and silver stay down until at least after the election.
And also, you said making sure that the stock market stays supported.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, it's like eye candy. They want the Dow above 18,000. It doesn't have to be screaming higher, but they don't want it to go in any kind of severe correction state as the election approaches, because they want the average mainstream voter in the United States to feel everything is just fine and dandy, and why rock the boat?
So does this represent a continued buying opportunity for silver stackers to continue to average down in their prices? And what do you see going forward? What again, we'll ask you, and I know you've answered it in a couple different directions, but what do you see as the thing that's really going to break this holding pattern?
Well, it's probably going to be some sort of black swan event, which by definition is something we're not anticipating, which is critical, because if the gold cartel can anticipate it, like this September 30th STR thing, it won't happen. And that's what's liable to be some kind of, we'll tip everything going our way when the JP Morgans of the world and are going to lose control of silver. And I do think if we take out 21, the move this time will be more volatile than it was in 2011 to the upside. And we'll get to 50 and then go through there and get to 100. And these last few years have just been exhausting in a way and very difficult for people that believe, like I do, that what is in store. So the people that are buying silver, all you can say is it's going to be a great buy. The risk reward at these price levels compared to what's coming is nothing. Right now it's a big deal that's at 17 versus 20. But geez, if you're looking at those numbers, 50 and 100, it won't make any difference in the years ahead.
Well, Bill, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah, I can't wait for some excitement to get back in our markets. I mean, the boredom meter is at a 10 right now in the central.
Is that a new statistic you're going to be quoting each month when we talk to you?
It's just, it's a very difficult time because of what they've done, and it's all going to change. So the best thing that I can say to my people and to your people is, to hang in there and understand what's going on, and that a lot of the drama that's been taken out of these markets will surface within the next year, and it's liable to be spectacular for our camp.
Well, Bill, we'd like to let our viewers know where they can find out more of your work so that they can follow the analysis that you continue to do as you keep an eye on the manipulation that's ongoing with the precious metals. Yes,
they can get a hold of GATA at www.gata.org. And Chris Powell does a great job. That's a freebie, and they can sign up for my website, lametropolecafe.com, for a 2-week free trial and see if it's of value to them.
Bill Murphy, co-founder of GATA.org, thank you so much for joining us again here on Reluctant Preppers.
Done again anytime. Thank you.